The Triple Trio with Hutchi, Richo and RS Dye. It's Hong Kong racing with the blinkers off.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new edition of the Triple Trio. My great pleasure to be sitting alongside virtually with the best form analyst in Hong Kong and Clint Hutchison, and a Hall of Fame jockey in RS Sha Dye, who of course was such a star in Hong Kong. Hutch, I'll start with you. A warm welcome, my friend.
Yeah, thanks very much, Richo. Looking forward to the show. We're going to have a good chat with Pierre Ng, of course, who's a rookie trainer who grew up in Hong Kong, like myself. Remember Pierre back in the day when I was growing up there as well. So looking forward to having a chat to him, and we've got plenty to discuss. We're going to recap last week, look forward to this week, and there's plenty going on.
And there's a lot going on all around the world. When I think of global superstars, I think of Sha Dye. Hello, RS.
Hello, mate. Geez, I've missed you the past 2 weeks. Hasn't been the same without you. I've missed you that much that I saw you on the screen before with a dark blue top polo on. So I run to the room and I found one and I put it on just to try and look like you, mate.
Hey, just, you know, what in Victoria and in Australia at the moment, it's the Spring Carnival. And we've been replaying all the great highlights, replaying all the great Cox Plates, replaying all the great Caulfield Cups. I want it on the record right now. I don't reckon your ride on Vienna Cross was that bad. I think you actually didn't cost him the race. I take it back.
Oh, thanks, mate. Mate, I'll tell you something now. I don't care. That's the sad thing about people. They all seem to care. I don't care. One day we're going to work that out, Richo. It's just going to take them a while.
God, I love you. Hey, we've got such a huge show coming up. We're going to burst out of the gates in a moment. We've got Sweet in Defeat, so a couple where Hutchie puts into the file for us to follow for the future. Genius or Slaughter from RS Dye. The Whirlpool Global Racing, it's Derby Day on Saturday in Victoria. Well, and of course, the Melbourne Cup simulcast in Hong Kong as well. Star Power, very keen to hear from a young trainer on debut this season and what an impact he will have. And of course, we'll find you a stack of winners as well. Hey, Hutchie, let's reflect on that. Hutchie's Honkers last week. How'd we go?
Yeah, we had a good weekend, actually. Unfortunately, we had an excuse, I think, with our best bet, which we'll recap a little bit later. But Shane obviously was very keen on One Voice, as we were, and we thought he was one of the better bets of the day. And a little cream with it, with a Quinella with Perfect Peach, just provided a nice result for all the subs. Of course, Rise Brethren, I did reference on the socials. I think a few of these jockeys are listening to Raymond Sha Dye. This was a great ride, I thought, to get up and win. But the good thing is we backed two in the race and they ran 1-2. So that was nice to have. And then we had Super Wind Dragon, our best, during a frustrating Wednesday dirt meeting where we had a number of seconds. And unfortunately, they didn't get the chocolates, but Super Wind Dragon did. And he is absolutely flying that horse. So we've had a good week and we look to build on that this weekend.
Did you have a good week, Shane?
Yeah, one last weekend and Wednesday night. But the best thing is the sun's out at the Gold Coast and it's sunny, so the club's going well.
Oh,
People
that's good to hear.
We don't like rain.
The nightclub's going well, and also the golf clubs are going well as well. We don't like rain. We're all virtually in different places today. You're on the Gold Coast. I'm in Sydney getting ready for the Golden Eagle. Not a cloud in the sky, 25 degrees in Sydney, but Hutch, you're in Melbourne leading into Derby Day, and the rain is tumbling down.
And even for those obviously tuning in that watch from Hong Kong, yeah, the rain has been very heavy throughout the week. They've forecast more rain, and Melbourne Cup Day will be simulcast into Hong Kong as well. And we'll find you an early tip for that, I think, later on the show. But we could very easily be playing on a heavy track for Cup Day, which isn't really ideal. We'll definitely be in the soft range if the forecast is right. The only hope, I suppose, Richo, is that, this Weather Bureau, can they get it wrong?
Oh, they're a complete lay. Don't worry about them. They are off. They stink. All right, horses loading. We're about to burst out of the gates. Well, let's burst out of the gates and we start with you, Hutch. Hello. Puts his hand up and says, I'm the best going around.
This is a big performance from a horse resuming. We did mention about how good his fresh form was. Fantastic ride as well from Alexi Badel. I love the positivity early. Zac had to do a bit of work on Lucky Swenes, which was heavily backed, starting odds on, but Wellington just stalked him, sat off him, gave him a lot of weight and gave him a beating. Shane, this was a really good return from Hong Kong's most talented sprinter at this point in time.
Yeah, not a surprise. The other horse just doesn't have that natural gate speed, and he needs it. He needs a gate to win the international, Lucky Suez. He can turn the tables even with the 11-pound difference. If he draws in and he gets running third fence, he's going to have an easy run, whereas he had to work too hard in that race. But the winner was very impressive. He's the best going around, and he's maintained his form, which he has fresh for 3 seasons now.
I think it's a good point that Shane brought up as well. I reckon if he does draw a barrier, he doesn't need to work early. He's only lightly raced. He hasn't had a whole lot of starts either, so he's still got improvement in him. There'll be a weight swing, and you know at this stage on level terms, you'd say, well, Wellington's going to start a clear favourite, but don't worry, he's improving. I wouldn't necessarily completely be giving up on Cordy Step 6 either. I thought it was a pass mark, and he'll also improve a little bit third up. So there's a couple of interesting factors going forward, but Wellington is going to be a tough one to beat, no doubt.
Clint, if he drew a gate, Lucky Suez in the international, I don't think Wellington would be a clear-cut favourite. Not at all. And
you could be right.
Closer than people think, and he would probably still start favourite, Lucky Suez, with the 11-pound swing. Definitely, I think.
And will we see them again before international meeting?
Yeah, we'll see them in the international trial meeting, which is it's only a couple of weeks away. I think the middle of November. So we'll see them clash again. I think there'll be a 5-pound difference. So Wellington will carry 128. Lucky Sweynesse will carry 123 because he's not a Group 1 winner yet. So that will be a really good lead. I don't think there'll be much between them, and but I would imagine that even with that little weight swing, Wellington will still be pretty popular. But barriers will make it certainly have an impact, and we'll know where we're going in that race. It's going to be a beauty. But it's nice to see a couple of, not just one horse. Or in the last few years, the sprinting ranks have been pretty open without a star, I suppose, until the end of last season with Wellington, where he came good again. But I think Lucky Sweynesse is going to be up to him because he hasn't even had 10 starts. I think that was his 8th start on the weekend. So he's a beauty.
And Skyfield went really well too, boys. He missed the start, which is good for him when he misses a start, but he charged home fast and he looked good. He's not out of the international if they cut themselves early and go too fast, and it's a back markers track on the A track and they're coming down the middle. That'll help him. So he's definitely not out of the international either.
And RS Zac just continues on his winning way. So another 3 on Sunday. He sits on 31 in the premiership. So Vincent Ho sits second on 14.
He's flying. Gave these a great ride, of course. He had one bad ride on Wednesday night, which was unusual for him. He erred, but he's just riding very well, making right decisions, apart from the one on Wednesday night. And he's only going to keep riding 2 or 3 winners every meeting, Richo.
What about Neil Callan? Talk about erring. What did you make of this during the week? Sorry, Neil. I hate to break the news. There's another lap to go.
Clint, you go first.
Wow. Yeah, I thought I had to laugh when I saw the replay of it, especially with Neil Callan. I mean, I thought it was quite funny in retrospect, and we made some comments on an Australian show, Get On, but I thought it was quite funny. None of the other riders, Shane yelled out to him and said, "You're going a bit soon, pal." They let him go, and it must be the worst feeling in a jockey's, career when this sort of thing happens.
Clint, I don't know, because it's never happened to me, and it could never happen because I go out there knowing the distance of the race and what the horses are. That's the first thing. I don't know how this can happen. I can't explain it. It is a brain snap. How you can go out there in a 2-lap race and think it's up the straight has got me beat. So I got no explanation.
Can you explain a little more in regards to that, Shane? Because wouldn't he also jump on a horse? I mean, they were going 2 laps. Wouldn't he jump on a stayer and feel like a stayer, and then suddenly he tries to turn it into a sprint race? I just can't get my head around how he could possibly have that brain.
I can't either. You see kids make that mistake, right? You've seen it before with the kids, but not someone experienced as Neil that's ridden Group 1 winners all around the world and whatever. It's very obvious he doesn't do his form and homework, because the first thing you do when you get the book and your fields is you look at the field, you know the distance of the race and how far it is. So I'm at a loss. I can't explain it. It never happened to me, and it could never happen to me because I did form and knew, and that wouldn't even enter my head. Okay, Moonee Valley Cup, we go around the bend, up the straight around, where am I going to be? So I can't explain it. I don't know. It's lack of doing form and not caring, because if you put your homework in, it can't happen.
I said to Richo earlier in the week as well, Shane, I said it didn't happen often in Hong Kong because there's not too many two-lap races. Maybe he's too acclimatised to Hong Kong where they don't run 2 miles.
Well, the only one is a 2200 at Happy Valley where they start the Rock, and you know they've got to go a lap and a half because no race starts there at the Rock apart from the 22s. So, you know, you're not going to make it in Hong Kong, a mistake like that.
Is that a fair suspension, though, Shane? It feels a little light to me.
No, England's just got everything wrong. You weren't here last week, but I had a go at Hayley Doyle. What she did last week was an absolute disgrace. Should have got at least a month, if not more. In Australia, would have got over a month. In Hong Kong, would have got over a month. And she got 3 days, which is an absolute joke. So they've got big problems in England with their suspensions and the interference that causes. 12 days for that's not long enough. He should have got more. It's a blatant mistake on his part. Did he mean to do it? Yes, he wrote it out. It was just a mistake.
The one Shane referenced, Holly Doyle, and that was a right on true Shane as well, Richo.
Okay, let's find some future winners. Who was sweet in defeat?
6th generation, Miraculous Honour, Super Sunny Sing and Regent Glory all in a line. He's going to dig into an empty hole here because Super Sunny Sing has grabbed him, but Super Sunny Sing.
Let's find some future winners. Hutch, who was sweet in defeat?
Yeah, I don't think there was a lot there on Sunday, Richo. I thought there weren't too many, but there was more potentially at the dirt meeting that we had during the week where there was a significant bias, which I'll touch on in a moment. But we had Running Glory, who was fresh up on the weekend, and then Run Des Run, which we'll look at closer as well. I know Shane's got a few words to say about that particular ride, and then a couple of younger horses that are definitely worth following, I think, at the dirt meeting that may not have had all favours. But look, Running Glory, I tell you why I love this horse. He's consistent, he's tough, he'll strip a lot fitter, he's with the right stable. Look, he did get the pace to suit. The winner was a fantastic ride. But and he's a little one-dimensional, Running Glory, but he'll improve a lot off the back of this run. Shane, I thought it was a good effort. The winner had a run under the belt and he got a dream right run through, but Running Glory was very gallant in defeat, and I think he's just a nice horse that he's on that upward trajectory.
Yeah, second season also, so he's going to come back a little bit stronger and bigger this season. He's riding well, Alexi Badel at present, Clint. He's putting them in beautiful posies.
What I liked about Youthful Deal and Yellowfin, now Yellowfin, I thought he should have, well, he didn't do too much wrong, but look, it was a nice run. He can win on the dirt, he can win at Happy Valley, I think at Sha TIn. So any one of those scenarios will work for him, and first up he had the pattern against. Youthful Deal, what they did was they had a little gear change and they also rode him differently. He started a short price favourite first up on the turf. Zac went forward on him, he punctured, and this day they decided to ride him back as they did in a trial. It was a red-hot rail sort of meeting. Everything, you had to settle on the fence. And there were a couple of winners that swung out wide later at the meeting, but you needed to be there in transit, which is where he was, but it wasn't a huge advantage, and he needed a more even track to really bridge that gap. They can ride him in that manner. I think, Shane, he's one of those horses that's how you got to ride him. Leave him alone early, let him get balance up, fill up the lungs, and conserve his energy, and he'll let go. And he let go really well there, and I think if they ride him that way, and it might be at Happy Valley, 1200 Sha TIn, 1200 turf, or on the dirt, any one of those options for him, he'll be winning a couple of races this season, I think, on the back of that effort.
I think I declared him as a best bet about 4 weeks ago, but he was burnt. He burnt early and he led and he stopped. They took him back to the trials and they learned from it because Zac rode him back at the trials and he trialled extremely well. And now they've done that race day. He won't be leading in the future. He'll be box seating and he's going to win races, Clint.
They're in the file, Hutch, so future winners, I think, coming up. All right, the highlight each and every week where RS casts his eyes, his peepers over the jockeys.
They sweep for home now. Beander Cross has come very wide. Beander Cross answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it.
Daring tactics by Sha Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Sha Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
Okay, everyone's favourite segment where the Hall of Fame jockey casts his eye over the rides of the week of all the gun jockeys in Hong Kong and RS. Let's start positive. Who was a great ride? What are the genius rides?
This was a really good ride. Jerry Chow on last Sunday on Kingland. Drew barrier 9. You see him 5 wide in front. Now, most kids would have pressed on and he wouldn't have run anywhere because they were going too quick and he would have been burnt. But he starts looking around here and he's 5 deep and thinking, I've got to come back and get in. You can play it on now, boys, and you'll see. This is a beautiful ride. He hasn't panicked. He's taking his time. He's looking, and boom, he squats in just before the turn, so he's not covering ground. Now, not only did he do that well, he never panicked on him, and he didn't try and come back out. He waited on him. This was a really good ride from gate 9 when he could have been caught 4 wide up front, pressing on and going to stop and run nowhere. Look at him here. He hasn't let him go. He's hung on to him and he's waiting. They turn for home. He's still one off the fence, and then he just peels here at the 400 and he goes boom. Excellent ride, Clint.
Yeah, it was. You've done well to find one with Jerry. I think Shane, he really has struggled in general. I think since he came out of riding under Douglas White, he's done a fantastic job on that particular horse. I think he's still a long way from the finished product. I think he's lost a bit of confidence, but that should give him a boost. You're right there. That was a beauty.
Here's another great ride. I love this horse. I backed him again. I've backed him the last 2 weeks. I think he's going higher, and I've said that on the show for a while. Zac didn't panic out of the gates, and he's not panicking as much. Well, not panic, but he was over bustling these type of horses for a little while, Zac. Now he's got him into a stride. He hasn't bustled him. He's got to get back. We all want to be running 4th and 5th, but unfortunately, not all horses want to be ridden like that. And this was just a really good patient ride. And he was like $2.20 favourite. So a lot of jocks panic on short-priced favourites and make bad decisions and wrong decisions and want to get them into the clear. Now, the good thing about this was because he's let the horse unwind in his own stride, he's not over racing, and he can over race, and he stayed to the fence where it was hot. Absolute hot. Now he peels out at the 300, doesn't panic, just takes his time to get out, pushes one a bit out of the way now and go boom. And you watch him quicken. He quickens like a nice horse. He's going higher, this horse, Clint. I'm telling you, I've been saying that.
No doubt. And that race there is an example why Zac's on top. He saw the pattern. He saw the bias. He rode Yes We Can As You Can. And he stayed there on the fence as long as he could. He didn't come off early. Didn't do anything differently. Sort of early in the race, he said, no, there's a pattern here. But he came off, like RS said, at exactly the time when he had to. Then the race was there to be won. But he identified it. He knew where his horse had to be. And if it didn't get the luck, RS, it didn't get the luck. But he put it in the spot where it needed to be.
I don't care if they don't get the luck, Clint. I've always said that to you. You know, you can't always win. But that's how you ride more winners than losing more winners. But he's a $2.20 chance. Now, when you're riding favourites, a lot of jockeys panic on favourites. He didn't panic. Very good ride.
I think 3 back the fence is when you see a lot of jockeys panic, Shane. 3 back the fence on a horse that's travelling. But, gee, that's a great example of someone who just holding his nerve when it counts most.
And had a bit on them too, Richo, which helps. But he only had a bit on them because he rode him quiet and let him get into a stride, and the horse didn't over-race, raced early like he can do, so he saved his energy for a sprint, and that's what happened there.
Yeah, beautiful work. Okay, any more positives, or it's time to start to identify a few poor ones?
As I said before, Alexi Badel on the horse Clint mentioned before was a very good ride. Rise Brithren, he's riding well. There were others, but those 2 stood out to me over the last couple of meetings.
Okay, now what about negatives? Is there a slaughter that you want to highlight? Where do we start?
There's a few, Richo.
Oh, good. Okay, I'll sit back. This will be good.
Okay, where are we starting, boys? I don't know which one you're going to put up.
We're going to go with Victor the winner.
Okay, Victor the winner. What have I been saying here? Let's have a look. Gate 1, watch his stick in his left hand. He's pushing. Disgraceful. Absolutely. When you miss the start, you don't push up to lead on a horse like that. They've learned nothing from that horse. He could have been having a beautiful run running 5th and 6th, I don't blame him for missing the start. That's irrelevant to me. But what he did afterwards was a no-no. I keep saying on the show to all these apprentices, all these boys, and I put up here 2 weeks ago, Zac Purton missing the start on a horse, what to do.
Yeah.
Matthew Pern there did the opposite. He's on $1.60 favourite. He gave it no hope by digging up. When you miss the start, do not dig up, boys. Just let them get into their stride, and he's learned nothing from this race, and he'll go home flattered from it. And he stopped, and he was always going to stop. He'll come out next start, and he'll probably win.
Well, hopefully, he might not keep the ride as a result. I mean, it wasn't a great ride. It was our best of the day as well. And when he missed the kick and drove him like that and worked as hard as he could, he had an excuse. I mean, look, he's only been headed there with 30 metres to go. Very painful watch. He was $1.60. Yeah, it was criminal.
Okay, so here's one of my missing the boats, and Zac never misses the boat. Back here in the Purple Cup on Run Des One should have won. Now, he should have come out. This track was off and it was on pace on the fence, but he may not have known. He should have tracked up behind the horse in the yellow colours, Jolly Forever 5 deep, because he was travelling well and he could have done it. But he just tried to ride him too well and wanted to save ground, and the horse was travelling. If he tracks up, he's behind Jolly Forever and he wins for sure. But instead, he got stuck behind horses that were going nowhere. It was a Class 5, and he really hit the line. But when he got out here, he hit the line so well because he had done no work through the race. So it looked probably worse than what it was because he finished so good. But if he had come out and tracked Jolly Forever at the 800 metres, he wins for sure. That's called missing the boat. And Zac doesn't do it, but he did it there. Very unusual.
Can I be the devil's advocate, Shane? Because you've been saying that you've got to ride for a little bit of luck for a horse that gets back. Didn't he do exactly what you asked for?
Yes and no, but what I always say is you can't work around them. He wasn't working, he was travelling, right? And you're in a Class 5 race where the horses are no good and are not going to quicken. And he's on a big horse with 1,300 pounds, so he can't take runs. So there's a difference between pushing at the 700, trying to work up and around, than travelling up and around in a bad race, tracking something into the race. Two different circumstances, but you are correct in what you're saying, Richo. I'm not disputing that. It's a fine line.
I don't mind them as well with that momentum on that particular surface, but that would have been the same on the turf anyway. Yeah. But it was glaring at the time, I must admit, because Zac doesn't usually make that mistake. Someone had actually done the work for him, and when you saw Jolly Forever make the move, you thought, we're here. Zac's just going to lob on the back of that horse and just get the best card into the race of all time. So it was an unusual move for him because he normally doesn't get those ones wrong, but he got that one wrong and it cost him the race. He would have won, as Shane said, for sure.
Okay, who's next?
Oh, this is a bad one. Gate 1. Why he would want to come off the fence. This should have won by 5 lengths the other night. Now, he comes off the fence from Gate 1. There's 2 leaders in the race. He go into the steward's room and he said he didn't want to be on the fence.
The fence is hot.
The fence is hot. King's Shield's the best horse in the race and going to take you into the race. And because he comes off, he gets bumped and he pulls. He made the horse pull. Oh, this is just disgraceful. This is just a no-no, this ride. And now the horse is pulling 3 deep. He can't stop him because he's made him do it. Now, he should have been third fence. He wanted to follow for St. Paul's, who's not as good a horse as King's Shield. It's just ridiculous. And the fence is hot. Now, the biggest blue outside of the one previously was big is coming up here. He's pulling. If he goes to the front, he wins by 2 lengths, but he won't go to the front. He stays here. He's got 115 pounds. King Shield's got 135. Make a decision. Go. If that's me, I'm off there. I'm gone. I'm 3 lengths in front. But he lets King Shield up inside on the best part of the track. And he gives him a chance to win the race. Now, King Shield's not a chaser. He's a leader. So if he goes up and around, goes to the fence and leads by 2 lengths, the race is over. He wins by, he can't be picked up. He gave that race to King Shield. That ride was as bad as it gets in my books.
I'm with you, Shane. I mean, we liked him. He was one of our main players during the week. The money came for him thick and fast. And just about every decision Derek made there was a horrendous one. He, like you said, with all that happened early, and he just should have stayed where he was. when he went, why not go to the fence, like you said, and cross the horse onto the best part of the track? So remarkable, painful to watch as well. But that's the worst ride of the season for me.
Oh, definitely for me too, 100%. But what I don't understand, Clint, they had him in the room afterwards and he said he didn't want to be on the fence following King Shield. King Shield's the best horse in the race. He's got 135 pounds and on the dirt he runs and he can stop. But the good thing is you've got all for St. Paul's outside of you. Now, they're not going to go fast, you know that. So it's going to be a sprint home. So it's going to drop them up at the 500, the back markers. So the back markers aren't going to keep you in a pocket because the 2 leaders are going to quicken. So a run's going to come with 115 pounds, and that horse there has been getting off the pace running on. So he's going to quicken. It was just, I'm watching the race going, what the effing hell's happening here? It should have won.
You know what was interesting as well? I mean, when he made that move down the back, I mean, you could see Zac Purton actually look over his shoulder as if to say, is someone going to come or am they just going to leave me alone to my own devices here? So,
but sitting one off was as worse as coming off the fence early. It just doesn't, I'm going, oh my God. Sorry, Derek, but that was a shocker, mate.
RS, I was wondering if you could get a little more passionate about some of these.
It's frustrating when you watch it, Richo, because we're all good at grandstand jockeys that haven't ridden, but Raymond Shane has ridden. And when you see a pattern like that and you give away all your advantage, frustration, you can see why punters get upset.
That's it today, boys. Enough's enough. Let's move on.
It is hard to top. Well, let's take a deep breath. Let's talk all things world racing. Of course, the World Pool is a fantastic initiative and an opportunity for all of the punters to bet into a commingled pool, which is fantastic. Our eyes turn to the great week of racing in Victoria. It is Cup Week at Flemington, and of course the Melbourne Cup will be simulcast in Hong Kong. It's Derby Day tomorrow, Hutchbuster. Saturday, Derby Day. Rain is falling. Who wins the Derby?
Well, it's an interesting one. Who does win the Derby? Big thing here, 2,500 metres as opposed to Hong Kong, which is over 2,000. But once again, pedigrees always really come into it. And of course, at the head of the market, we've got Sharp and Smart, Berkeley Square, just ahead of Mr. Maestro in the market in Australia, that is. And it's going to be a great race, but the Kiwis are going to dominate, I think, once again, notwithstanding there's some progressive horses. There've been a couple, I think, horses that have competed in the Derby that have been sold to Hong Kong in the past, and we might get one of those again. I'm not sure, but I think I'd just like to look at the Group 1 Goldmine stuff when it comes to pedigrees, because they don't all stay. Some of them win anyway because they're better than their rival peers that's this age. But Mr. Maestro, according to Group 1 Goldmine, is definitely a good player. I like his form as well, but, he's got this Savabeel cross with the Galileo, which is just a fantastic result as far as the pedigree is concerned, and he will run the trip out strongly, and I thought he looked a great chance probably on an each-way basis to topple Sharp and Smarto. I think it is going to be tough to beat. But, we mentioned about the Melbourne Cup, Richo, as well, and that will be simulcast into Hong Kong. And the weather's going to play a big part, but there's been quite a bit going on with regard to the Cup field and all the protocols.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, the vet protocols, Durston, the Caulfield Cup winner, into a Melbourne Cup. Chris Waller announcing that it had failed the very stringent vet examination out of the Cup. And now breaking news the day before Derby Day that Loft, the second favourite, that Australian Bloodstock, has spent a lot of money on. They made sure he qualified through running in Europe and then took him to America to win a 2-mile race to get him into the Cup. He comes out the German-bred and the German-raised horse Loft has now been deemed unsuitable from a vet point of view to run in the Melbourne Cup. And Shane, this is a story that just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Don't get me started because it's a laughing matter and it's a joke. They're a joke down there at present. How can the Caulfield Cup winner run 2 weeks ago and as good as gold and wins the Caulfield Cup, comes out 1 week later, gallops over ground and gallops sensational. The vet of Chris Waller's looks at him. He walks off great. Jockey said he's great. And then the VRC vet comes along and says, no, he's not. Why was he allowed to run in a Caulfield Cup, Richo?
Well, it's different protocols. They're not as stringent as they are towards a Melbourne Cup scenario. Or he has picked up some sort of an area, a grey spot in his scans that are suggesting there's a part of his legs that are under stress, that once he runs 2 miles, he's at a greater risk of breaking down in front of the eyes of the world when racing's social licence is right on the edge and they've deemed him unsuitable.
Stop sticking up for them. Simple as that. It's just a joke. Look, didn't the vet say when I read the paper, we can't tell whether it's an old injury or a new injury?
Yeah, correct.
Well, how come they can't tell that?
Yeah. And that's the issue. Look, I'm not sticking up for them. I'm playing devil's advocate in your argument, because the reality is that they are desperately trying to ensure it's a safe race. But Shane, as you know, you're the horseman amongst it. It's impossible to make it a safe race. Every race has an element of risk.
Of course there is, and it's the same as jockeys dying. There's going to be more jockeys die. There's going to be more horses die. You cannot make it safe. It's like being in a car, Richo. You can go out in a car now and get killed. You know that. I know that. Is it going to happen? Probably not, but it can, right? I speak to very important people in Europe about this, and they cannot believe it, and they think it's an absolute joke, and they won't be bringing horses here again. The Melbourne Cup's going backwards, Richo. There's no risk about that. Back in the 90s, you were getting the very, very good weight for age horses like Almiret, I think he run, didn't he? And Superimpose, all those type of horses, even Dulcify in the 79, I think it was. But you got Kingston Town. There's no weight for age horses running it now. They changed it to a European, getting the promising European horses over here, which they wanted. Now they've stopped that. All that it is a no-good 2-mile race with no good horses in it anymore.
We also had Rogan Josh win back in the day and all that. I still think the race has a lot of charm. There's still a lot of international
there's
interest.
a lot of charm.
And what sort of balance they need to strike in terms of these protocols, I'll leave that to all the experts. Can understand why they've done what they've done. Is it too stringent? Possibly it is. I mean, possibly that needs some tweaking. We still want international participation, but not at the exclusivity of them either, or total sort of barring of them and making it that difficult for them. So, I mean, how that takes shape going forward, I'm not sure. But, there are certain circumstances which seem to contradict themselves, which Shane has brought up. Hopefully they can sort something out, because it's still Australia's greatest race, and it will be, I think, as long as we've got racing going on. On that note, there's a Hong Kong connection this year. We've got Deauville legend as well, Richo. He is Bonho as well, as we well know, has a lot of horses around the globe, and I think he's got a great chance to win it. No, he hasn't got a great chance, Hutch. He simply wins. He is classes above these. To give you some sort of an international form line, he just trotted up to win the Great Voltager. That's the race that was used by Cross Counter. Before he ran second in that race and came out and won the Melbourne Cup. This horse is as good, if not better, than Cross Counter. In behind him in that Great Voltager was El Bodegon, who, Shane, arguably could have gone a little closer to winning the Cox Plate. The form's outstanding. Deauville Legend will win it.
Yeah, you know it better than I, so I'm not disagreeing with you, Richo. I don't follow European racing like you do. I know that the third horse should have won the Cox Plate. If he jumps, he wins for sure. What was the winner?
El Bodegon.
Alvotical, but Anamore doesn't beat him. If Damien can get him out of the gates and he follows him, he definitely wins. It's just a no race. He runs over top of him. He nearly ran over top of him when he got into a bad position pulling. So if he can do that and that, there's no risk. What you're saying is correct. The other thing I just want to say about the Melbourne Cup, you got to remember too that New Zealand went through a breeding period which was unbelievable. They had Sir Tristram and then they went to Zabeel. Right? So they were breeding the good stayers for the Melbourne Cup. At present, you haven't got that really good staying blood in New Zealand or Australia. Tanzino, he stays.
Tarzino, yep.
Tarzino. But there's not that superstar like a Zabeel or a Sir Tristram. So they're just lacking that staying blood here now.
Yeah, I mean, Savabeel is one through G1 Goldmine. I think they would identify Savabeel one. The emergence of Al Manzoor, also a stallion in New Zealand, shocking as well, a Melbourne Cup winner, and even Reliable Man. But
there's no quick fix. There's no quick fix, Shane, for what there is. With what you're saying about the pedigrees is 100% right, but that's why we see the Europeans dominate. But what we are seeing is the Australians buying these horses, of course, out of Europe. We know they've got the pedigrees to stay. And we're getting horses there with sort of lower class stakes form or handicappers that some of them are well purchased and do progress, such as Zaki, etc. But, you know, they've got that pedigree on their side and, you know, they come down here and do very well. So that's the other option for them. They're buying them from overseas.
It's a history race, and it's a race that stops New Zealand. It stops Australia. It's an unbelievable race, and it's history. And it will continue to be like that. But it's lacking at present, and something has to be done to correct it, and I don't know what it is.
Melbourne Cup winning jockey Sha Dye, written and authorised. A quick pause because we've got to add some star power. Pierre Ng is our very special guest. We're adding some star power. He's having his debut season as a trainer after working initially as a track work rider for his father and then as an assistant trainer for Paul O'Sullivan, travelling around with that superstar sprinter in aero velocity. He has travelled the world. He's learnt everything there is about racing, and now he is a trainer in Hong Kong. Pierre, welcome to the show. And as you look at everyone on this screen, there's some familiar faces that you've grown up with.
Yes, Mr. Dye and Mr. Hutchison. I saw them when I was at the playground in the staff quarters.
Yeah, a long time ago, Pierre. Thanks for coming on the show. Great to see you again. And look, I'm so happy that to see you doing well and kicking off your career. It must be a dream start for you in your first year. I know you've been obviously in the industry a long time and now you're training, but it must be a dream start with how well you've performed so far in your rookie season.
Yes, definitely. We have great results during the past few weeks. It's hard. The journey is tough, but we managed to get our results slowly. So we're happy with that.
We're just having a look at a horse called Happy Fat Cat winning during the week. You had a nice couple of results during the week as well, Pierre. And how have you found the transition? I mean, I probably would say you might find it easier than most. Not a lot of people, or some of our viewers may or may not know your father, of course, Pierre Ng, but couldn't train in Hong Kong for many years. And obviously you've worked your way up through the system, Pierre. But, you know, you've obviously come out running. And how have you found that transition?
We have to go through lots of tough work. With those stable transfer horses, and we just have to find out what the problem we have before or what he's the best at, and we just propose it there and get the results.
Yeah, and obviously, how are you with numbers wise at the moment, Pierre? How many horses do you actually have in the stable?
At the moment, we have around 56, 57. And then should be more coming in the next few months.
Well, that's a great start of the season. Richo, you would know this as well with Pierre. Pierre, you've done a lot of work with some of the champions we've seen in Hong Kong. Can you tell us about that experience with the likes of Aero Velocity that Richo mentioned? And obviously you were very close with Golden 60 as well.
Yes. For my past experiences, which is tremendous. Working with Golden 60, you wouldn't think that we could win so much races and earning so much prize money. To be involved in the yard is a great thing. And also, Aero Velocity is just a mission impossible to win in Japan. I think it's just when I think over it again, it's just couldn't believe it. And yeah, if you saw the video again, it's just like a dream to me. So he's very lucky to be involved with those horses at that level.
Pierre, can I touch on your background and what has moulded your training philosophy? Hutchie's mentioned a bit about your upbringing in Hong Kong, but then you worked in Australia and David Payne, David Hayes, Chris Waller, Mick Price. You worked over in Japan as well. You worked with William Mott in the USA. You've been part of yearling preparations as well. You've literally travelled the world and learnt it all. Does that help you sort of mould into your training philosophies?
That will be an important part of my training philosophy, for sure. Every trainer in different areas in the world have their unique ways to do things, what they're good at. But also in Hong Kong is a very unique places for overseas trainers. When they come over, they find it out. It's quite unique. So you just learn from different places and put it in your brain and work through it and try to get the best out of it.
Pierre, do you have any targets this year? I mean, I know you sound like you've got quite a few numbers there, and some of them are just new into the stable. I mean, I would have thought a new trainer starting out, a pretty low target would be realistic, but you're already storming up the winners' standings already. Do you have a target in mind for how many winners you want to have in your first season?
I think we'll be around 40 winners. I'll be happy. And more will be happier. But from my previous experience, I think we'll try to achieve that.
How's Glorious Dragon going, Pierre? Because he's a real nice horse.
He had a tough time. He has very bad joint problem. So once he stable transferred to me, we actually put in a screw in his joints, and he's starting off well now. And we just try to repeat that his performance hopefully after Christmas.
And what about your dad? People may not realise, but his name was Peter. He was one of the nicest men in Hong Kong. Lovely man. He trained for years. I was there the whole time he was training. And what's he up to now?
He's just back from the Magic Millions, so he's still traveling around, going through the sales. It is tough after COVID, and he had to pick back up again. And he looks like he spent a month in Australia and seems happy enough.
Sounds like he's going to start finding some horses for you, Pierre.
I hope that he can do that.
Pierre, take us through your runners. You've got 5 runners on Sunday at races 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6.
Best chance for the Sunday will be Medic because he's been running consistently, and we just have to hit the front. It's just a matter of time, and I think he's coming to hit in the front.
Race 1, number 9, Shane.
You've got very good runners, Pierre. Most of them can win. Medic Elite can win. Hardly Squares isn't the worst. Kung Fu Masters racing well. He can win. Super Commander's got a chance. And Gang of Brothers got a bad gate and was disappointing last start because of the gate. That's the worry within the gate. But the thing in the first can definitely win.
And also, just Pierre, with Kung Fu Master Panda, Zac, of course, rode him last start. And I noticed this season, and he's got a great chance again, but this says you look like you're spreading it out. You don't really go into one jockey in particular. You're happy to use whoever's available?
Yes, of course. In this stage, we only got Zac that's really running many winners. I would like to see more jockeys that would help that out, to do that, build up the good relationship with them. And looking forward to find the next Shane Dye.
Looking forward to next Shane Dye. There you go.
Thank you, mate.
Brilliant stuff, Pierre. Hey, just quickly, tell us about studying in Australia. Bachelor of Science at the University of New South Wales. Are they nice times for you?
Always studying. Always not a nice time for everyone. I've gone through that, so yeah, it's okay. Not too bad. Yeah.
Lot happier in Hong Kong trading horses, Richo, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, Pierre, you've survived the toughest test there is. You've gone one-on-one with RS Dye, and he was very, very nice to you. He must really love your dad.
He's not a jockey. Hey, please say hello to him, Pierre, because he was a lovely man, and no doubt he still would be a lovely man. But I always liked him. I rode a few winners for him too.
Yep, send him our best.
Yeah, no problem.
Good luck, Pierre. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Hong Kong racing. Let's get the form from the experts. And Hutch, we'll start with race number 8. You've zeroed in on a few here.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty competitive race, actually, but we've got a couple of horses that are in good form. Nimble Nimbus, of course, the last start winner, and Zone D was beaten by him last start, but Hill's Trip Fitted, John Sires, Zac Purton teaming up. They'll attract some attention. I think Majestic Victory is going to be right in the game off that effort behind Corbett Splendito, who was a good result for us as well. But it's a competitive race, that is for sure, Richo. There's a few chances in it. We're going to take a look at one of the key races, and this was the race with Nimble Nimbus. Shane, he's got to be in the mix again. I think though Zone D, who sat back and was fresh up on this occasion, he's one that'll strip a little bit fit a third run of the preparation, and maybe Zac getting on could be an improver, certainly going against Nimble Nimbus this time.
Yeah, no, Nimbus won well. He'll go forward from gate 6. He's up a bit in the race. He's gone, I think, from 125 pounds to 132, but both those horses got a chance. This horse is going to be hard to beat. Clint going to a mile. E-Legend, he ran well and he didn't stop. He kept going, and you watch the last bit when he looked gone, he come again. So the 1650 is going to help him, and he has won over it a couple of times. I think he's got a chance, this horse, Clint.
Yeah, no, he's got a big chance. I agree with you, Shane. I mean, I think, the fact that he competed over a bit shorter, like you said, first up, I'd imagine he'll nearly be favoured in the race, on the back of that run. The fact that he'll be second up is another one that can position nicely. We've got Escape Route, who I think, whilst John Sizes can win fresh up, I think they always get a little bit better with a run under their belt, and they're the ones that you want to follow all the way through with Escape Route. But no, you're right. I think that last performance from E-Legend rated really well. Sort of surprised me how well he went, actually, over the 1,200 metres on that on his fresh up run. That was behind Oriental Smoke. Now, I know that horse went up in grade, but he was excellent on that occasion. And the Valley Mile, this looks like a plan. So in a competitive race with a lightweight, he looks the one.
Yeah, they're going to go fast here with massive action in there, Clint. He's a 1,400-metre horse who really tears along. From gate 1, he'll just come out and lead. And you've got others that go forward, like Majestic Victory can go forward. Red Majestic can. E-Legend will probably go forward. I mean, it's hard to say from gate 8.
The thing with E-Legend, a couple of his runs last season when he was better was off a strong speed as well, I think.
And back off them, he was.
Yeah, I think it suits him. So the two that interest me in that race, and I think it won't be a heavy play race for me, but E-Legend definitely, and I think Majestic Victory will get a better tempo here, and he'll be well suited, Richo.
So Zac Purton has a ride in every race except race number 9, and that's the race that you've done a market on, Hutch.
Yeah, it is. It's a good race too. It's a very competitive race. Look, it wasn't an easy one to price in a few respects, but I love rewarding together going back to the Valley and drawn gate 1. I'm hoping that those barriers are a premium because we're racing on the C course, which is unusual for this particular meeting. Normally the rails in the A or the B, so I'm not sure why that exactly has transpired, but I had the market leader at this point and at rewarding together, who ran first up. He got caught wide off the track, and I think Pinghai Galaxy, who did resume with a win, was right in the game as well. This could be a key form reference. This was the race that Campione went too slow. Zac went too slow in this race, and Majestic Star was there and was always going to get home stronger than him. And I don't know what your thoughts were, Shane. I think Campione won't like the presence of another bit of speed in the race in Harmony and Rich. So that will just pay to him a little bit from the wide gate. But Majestic Star could well run well again. I had him sort of around that $8 mark, Majestic Star. I think he'll just rise a little bit in weight. He's obviously come back well. But I thought there were a couple others that made a little bit more appeal in this race.
I know I always say outside gates for leaders is great, but at the C and C+3 at Happy Valley, it's not. They struggle to get across. You haven't got far to the first turn at the 1,200. It's nowhere near as good. They struggle from that gate. So he's going to have to work too much. And with that weight, 133 pounds, you would think he'd have to struggle, where a couple of these horses like Rewarding Together and Majestic Star from gate 1 and 2 getting a great run. I think it's a 3-horse race. Majestic Star, Rewarding Together, and Ping Hoi Galaxy, and any one of them could win. But they're the three main ones in it, Clint, and I think you've singled them out.
Yeah, I mean, Rewarding Together, I think, I marked him favourite, and I think he gets a much better run. We've seen him perform well at the track, so he'd be a win play. And then as far as Quinellas were concerned, I actually think the lightweights, Ping Hoi Galaxy was great. He was the only winner on the night to be locked away on that fence, and he gets a great one with Alexi Badel up in grade here. He'll probably box seat and let the speed come across him. Like those other horses I mentioned in Campion and Harmy and Rich. And the other one that could run well and be running on late is Astrologer. Some of his runs last season were excellent. They will get good, strong tempo if they can run on. He's another Quinella chance. But my play in that race will be Rewarding Together to win. And I think a Quinella at least with Ping Hoi Galaxy and Astrologer, and we might throw one more on the day.
It is a rare Sunday meeting at Happy Valley, so make note, punters there. 10 races on the card at Happy Valley on a Sunday. Race 10, Hutch, finishing style. How did you assess this field?
Yeah, this is another good race. Street Scream's absolutely flying this season, and he's won. Well, he was going well last season too from wide draws, but he got a good run in transit last start. Absolutely donkey-licked his rivals, and Winning Icy's bidding for a hat-trick of wins. So at first glance, it looks like obviously those two are key players. Very, very interesting runner is All Beauty. We've only seen him a handful of times. He's had a big gap between runs, but he has won at the Valley, and he looks destined to go higher than most of these, I think, in the ratings. So he looks a major player, but where is he in terms of fitness? Fresh up. And there's another one there from the Jamie Richards stable with Zac Purton on board by the name of Stradale, who, of course, competed in some in stakes races and set weights races in New Zealand. And I think some of his better figures gives him a very interesting chance, and his trial was good. But Shane, they're going to need to be at a decent level here with Street Scream, who's absolutely flying this also. I know he's got the weight, but he's got a barrier. He can make use of it. And if he turns up in the form that he's been in, he's going to set a benchmark for them all to run down.
I totally agree with you. His 2 wins have been outstanding. Here's Winning Icy. He's racing well. He's racing handier now. He's jumping. Remember last season, Clint, he was missing the start and getting back. He's actually jumped this season, but he can miss it. He'll be forward. Now, once again, the 2 chances, they've got gates 1 and 2. These are the 2 to beat. There's no risk about that. I'll go Street Scream ahead of the source. Street Scream's flying, Clint. And he raced well from wide gates all last year.
Yeah, he was he was, I wouldn't say slaughtered, but he just ran so well so often. I was getting to the stage where I think he liked being outside of horses, but he got the run of the race last start, and he absolutely annihilated his opposition.
Just one thing with All Beauty, he won first up last season, and if you have a look at his trials last year before he won, they weren't that good. He's had 2 trials this time in, I think, and both of them haven't been great. They were 1,200-metre trials, and they were just average, nothing special. So he made trial bad. He's got gate 3. He's not going to be up there. He'll be back midfield. But he did win well first up last season. But, of course, it was in class 4, wasn't it, Clint? When he won?
It was. But interestingly, they got what they're calling on the cheek pieces or the winkers back on. The other fact with him, I'll tell you about him, even in defeat, this is a horse that can reel off a serious sectional. I've got no doubt that he's destined to go a lot higher in the handicaps, and he's just one of those I'm a little wary of. So I think he'll run well, and I think there'll be some money for Stradale, that horse that hails from New Zealand and has competed well there. I think he's actually gone okay. But, yeah, I think we're on the same script there, Shane. I think Street Scream might just keep the sort of winning momentum going.
Stardale's got gate 11, so that's very hard, Clint. From gate 11, first up, they struggle from there. But his trials have been there's no risk about that.
And got Zac Purton on, so that certainly helps teaming up with Jamie Richards. That's races 8, 9 and 10. Okay, let's put you under the pump. Hutch, who will be your best bet of the day?
Oh, well, one of my better bets of the day will certainly be in race 2, number 5, Mega Bonus. This horse was set a task by Wagner Borges last start when facing the breeze, 3 wide, no cover. In fact, I think Shane might have highlighted him in one of the races that he reviewed, and I thought Mega Bonus's effort fresh up was fantastic. Zach obviously identified that run. It was an excellent effort to defeat. He's second up here, drawn barrier 2. He'll be tough to beat. So I thought that he looked a very good win play. And I think in the race we can have a Quinella too. Compassion Super trialled very well with the blinkers on. He's going to bounce, put himself in a nice spot the way he trialled. And a newcomer for John Sizer's stable with Alexi Badel on board. He's his go-to man at the moment, John Sizer with Alexi Badel. And this horse won a trial at Warwick Farm by 5 lengths when it was trained by Kieran Ma. It's gone up to Hong Kong. It's had a couple of quiet trials. A lot of speed. From gate 1, don't be surprised if this horse actually can even lead this field. He is quick. So mega bonus, I think, to win. And we'll take a corner on those races. As I mentioned, I think there's another one for Zac in the middle part of the program, Lyrical Motion. He comes down in class. Race 5, number 2. He looks hard to beat. And Pretty Queen Prawn, he looks the obvious Quinella chance in that race as well. So I like a few races on the card, Richo. Race 2 with those runners I mentioned. In race 5, number 2, Lyrical Motion. Pretty Queen Prawn is definitely going to be a play race. And then later in the day, I think we can have a rewarding together as well as one of those plays. So we've got a few to get our teeth stuck into.
I love it. HutchiesHonkers.com, of course, is the site with all the great analysis, and you can subscribe in and you can dictate what you'd like to do, the level of service you need from Hutch RS. Have you got a winner you can steer us into?
Clint's pinched it.
What's it called?
Oh,
I'm going on strike. He got in first. I was going to go mega bonus. Now I've got to switch. Just a thing on that race.
Oh, you can't. We can double down, Shane. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We can all be on him.
Yeah, straight.
Bit like Baccarat when you back a loser, just double down, go again. Boys.
Yeah,
Just
of
put
course
more
you
on.
do.
Just in that race, that Speedy Fortune, just a quick note, he's had 2 trials, which is a bit unusual for John. He likes to give him 3 or 4, and he hasn't been tested. So it's very hard to get a line on him on his Hong Kong form first up. But John's had 2 winners that have trialled like him recently. They both won, of course. What was it? You know the horses.
Not Accelerator, but
One
something
led,
along those
one
lines.
led. He's won twice, and the other one did the same. They both won. So these horses are coming along nicely. So it wouldn't be a surprise, Clint, if he run a race in that Speedy Fortune, as you said, because we haven't seen him yet. But I'll go mega bonus race 2. I'll go race 1. Pierre's horse, Medic Elite. He'll run well. Circuit Spendino, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Okay, he'll run well in the same race also. From gate 2, he's going to be hard to beat. But I'll cheer home Pierre since he come on the show, eh?
Yeah, good on you. And so the son of Pete. Hey, quickly, Hutch, I think we've got a competition winner, haven't you, who's been able to win a little bit of Zac merch?
Yes, Stephen Brocky is the winner of the merch as well. So congratulations. And what he has managed to do is win these fantastic Sideline Series cards. Make sure you check it out if you entered and you didn't win. But yeah, at Chekhov Racing, well done to Steve, and keep watching. And also, just quickly before we go, Richo, we're looking like we've got to confirm it, but we've almost got the confirmation through. Next week, we will have a very special guest, and RS, you'll be happy to hear this. Gary Stevens we're hoping to have on the show. So it'd be fantastic to chat to Gary. I think, RS, he was one that made your top 10.
He was a great jock. Because I remember one night with him at Vegas. He took me to Vegas for the first time ever. I think he corrupted me, actually.
Oh, I don't think we can go there on this show.
Well, what we might do next week, make sure you tune in. We might also push red for Shane and might be able to do an AO version of that story a little later on. Hey, team, bloody brilliant to be back with you. Hope everyone's enjoyed the show, and we look forward to doing it all again next week.